Hey, how's it going? Today I'm talking about race day plans, how to cross the finish line when training didn't go as planned. So, of course, we can all plan for the best of circumstances, but it doesn't always happen. There are things you can do on race day in order to have success, even when your training didn't go the way that you think it should have. So, I'm specifically talking today to the people who have had things just come up that are unavoidable. So, one situation, somebody is recovering from cancer surgery and determined to finish the half marathon at runDisney. And they haven't been allowed to train for multitude of reasons. I'm talking about somebody who got COVID and couldn't train because they just didn't have the capacity to train. Now, of course, if motivation wasn't there and other things got in the way, this does apply to you as well. Those are the top two things that I have in mind when I'm talking about this. So, a good question is, can I call runDisney and get my money back? Or can I call runDisney and get placed further up in the corrals so that I have more time? I'm here to tell you, by all means, give runDisney a call. Your chances are slim. They have a no refund policy, and the corral placement is based on proof of time for the upper corral, so A or B, sometimes C, but usually A or B. And then the rest are just placed where you're placed. Of course, call runDisney and ask. I don't work for runDisney. I am not a cast member. You could get somebody who's very nice who will give you a partial refund on a Disney gift card. It's not guaranteed because their official policy is no refunds. I have never heard of somebody calling runDisney and getting placed further up in a corral without having a proof of time. So I have heard of instances where somebody did submit a proof of time. For some reason, it didn't go through or it didn't save. I don't remember the details, but I do remember that that person talked to race relations or customer relations, somebody relations on race weekend at runDisney, and they got an updated corral and they got moved up. I have heard of those situations, but the other situations I have not heard of. So, a couple of things for race day to be mindful of so that you can have the success. Now, if you're training for hoping to get a challenge medal or a coast to coast medal, you do have to finish all of the races that are associated with that. So if it's a 2-course challenge, you have to finish the 10K, you have to finish the half marathon. If it's getting coast to coast, you have to finish 10 miler over Springtime Surprise, half marathon weekend at any of the Disneyland races, and then at least a half marathon or the full marathon at Disney World to get the coast to coast medal, as long as, of course, you've completed distance at the other race. A couple of things that you can do. Leading up to race day, do some gentle walking. Keep your body moving, but don't overdo it. I'm talking if you're training for the half marathon, you haven't really been able to do much, at least walk half an hour 2 days leading up to the half marathon or 2-course challenge. If you're doing the marathon, maybe 3 days. If you're doing dopey, 1 or 2 days, because you're going to have 4 days of racing. Plan out how you are going to do your races. So the 5K, no matter what race weekend it is, the 5K, walk. 5K is unofficially timed. Okay, meaning they will pull you off the course if you are taking an unreasonable amount of time on the race. But as long as you have forward progression, they will allow you to keep going, okay? They do say, of course, a 16-minute per mile, but there are no balloon ladies. There really aren't the sweepers. They'll nudge you along. So if you're doing a 5K for any part of the race weekend, walk it. Enjoy yourself. Take your time. If you are doing a 2-course challenge, walk the 10K. There is a reasonable expectation that you can walk the 10K and be fine. If you're doing a half marathon, consider walking the majority of it with some running interspersed. So instead of planning out doing a 30-30 run walk interval or something like I do, run 1 mile, walk half a mile, plan to do running at more regular intervals, but walking the majority of the time. So maybe walking a mile, running or jogging a quarter of a mile. Walking a mile, running or jogging a quarter of a mile. Something like that. If you're doing a marathon, you are likely going to need to run a little bit more than that, but you could probably walk a mile, run half a mile, or situate yourself a little bit differently. Race week, eat, fuel, hydrate. It will astound you if you haven't fueled properly in the past, and you may be thinking you're fueling properly now. If you are doing a proper carb load before and then properly fueling during your race, there are no limits, essentially. You're going to feel invincible. You are going to feel like you can do anything with the proper carb load. So even if you haven't been training properly, you don't anticipate going fast, let's say on a half marathon, pre-race carb load for 3 or 4 days instead of 2.5 to 3 days. Give yourself an extra amount of carb loading. Marathon, goofy, dopey, give yourself an extra day. So instead of 4 days, do 5 days. I know it sounds like a lot, but if you have no gas in the tank, gas being fuel and carbohydrates, you can't go anywhere anyway. For even the most trained person, not having fuel in the tank means that they are going to suffer. But if you haven't been able to train properly because you've had these other illnesses, injuries, things going on, you're definitely going to be behind the 8 ball if you don't fuel because you're already behind the 8 ball. So eat more, fuel more, drink your carbs, not in the form of alcohol, but in the form of juices, Gatorades, Powerades, liquid IV, sodas, full sugar soda, things like that. Carb load. And then plan out to get to the race corral as early as your corral opens. Get to the front of that corral. If you're in C corral and the balloon ladies are in F or G, that's C, D, E, F, G. That's possibly 5 corrals difference that you have a buffer, because if you're at the very front of your corral, let's call it C, balloon ladies are the very last people to cross the start line. That could be a massive buffer. Now, I don't know the exact buffer because the size of the corrals will change. And in different race weekends, they have a different number of waves, different number of participants in each corral. I'm going to play around with it when I go to Disneyland this upcoming race in September. Now, of course, this is coming out around race weekend. I am recording this a couple of weeks in advance. So I'm going to see if I can play around with noticing how much of a buffer there is. So get to the front of the corral. Once you start going, don't go out too fast. The mistake many runners make is, oh, I need to get an even bigger buffer by going out fast and get as far away from the balloon ladies as I can. In theory, this makes sense. Now, you've already created a buffer because you're at the front of your corral. Creating a bigger buffer by going out super fast is a recipe for disaster. Slow and steady wins the race. Be the tortoise, not the hare. We remember that fable, right? Where the tortoise and the hare are racing, and the hare is zooming all around. He's backtracking. He's going on errands. He's doing all these things. The tortoise just puts one foot in front of the other. Well, now, of course, the hare, he's going all over the place and he's not paying attention. That's why he loses in the end. But if you go out too far, if you go out too fast, you are going to gas out and let's say you run for 10 minutes, but you need to recover for 5. Well, now you're exhausted and you're right back where you would have been had you just been going at your original pace. And you're going to feel defeated. You're going to feel like you can't keep going. And that negative mindset is going to be detrimental to you finishing the race, as opposed to just one foot in front of the other, doing your own race, walking your own race, running your own race, however you are doing it, but slow and steady wins the race. As you get further into the race, you can pick up the pace a smidge. I'm talking seconds. Go just a little bit faster. This is one of the reasons why I love the progression run for speed workout. It of course helps you get faster while you're training weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, but it also prepares you for race day, where I recommend somebody start off a little bit slower and progressively get faster at regular intervals, half mile or mile intervals, where you're just going a little bit faster, so that you pick up the pace, pick up the speed, gain some time, but you don't overly exert yourself and make yourself crumble because you haven't been able to train. Maybe for no fault of your own. I mentioned somebody who was recovering from cancer surgery. I mentioned somebody who had COVID. If it's no fault of your own that you got ill, it's no fault of your own that you had to have these surgeries. And so going out slow and steady will help your body so that you don't get this lactic acid buildup early on. Because when you train efficiently, you are helping your body utilize the energy you have and recover efficiently so that you don't get all this lactic acid built up. But if you haven't been able to train for a reason not your own fault, or you were not able to train because you just didn't train, you need to be strategic about it on race day to make sure that you keep moving forward. Now, you may have to sacrifice character photos. So if you want character photos, do them in the corrals before or after the race. I do recommend after in this particular case because you want to get to the front of the corral. But there are characters at the corrals. You can get character photos after the race in the finishers area. If it's an expo day, if there's still time, you can go back to the expo and there are some characters there. There are multiple ways to get character photos. You can also go throughout the parks and go and wait in line with the characters and have your medal with you and go through the process getting those character stops then. You may have to sacrifice character stops on the race when you haven't been able to train. But doing your pre-race carb loading and fueling right during the race so that you are constantly giving yourself that energy that you're going to use, getting to the front of the corral, starting off slow. Do not go out too fast because you will gas yourself out. Slow and steady wins the race. Start off slower, and then as time goes on, every mile, go just a little bit faster. And then if you're doing multiple race days, or actually even if you're not, even if you're just doing one race, go have some protein, do stretches after the race in the finisher's corral, go get some Powerade, go get the snack box, do some stretches while you have a snack, go back to your room, stretch a little bit more, have some caffeine, take a shower, or go, of course, take a shower before you go into the hot tub, but go sit in the hot tub, sit in the pool, move your legs around, stretch while you're in the water because that will give you some recovery benefits as well. You can bring some Epsom salts to take a hot Epsom salt bath. Can't bring hot Epsom salts with you. That's not a thing. Bring some Epsom salts. If you have a massage gun, bring your massage gun with you so that you can use that immediately after, and then keep moving. Don't stay stagnant. Don't stay laying down for too long because your body is going to tighten up. It's going to cramp and you're going to have some lactic acid build up. But if you keep moving, that will circulate through your lymphatic system and then be flushed out. Okay, so those are my tips. If you haven't been able to train properly for race day for whatever reason, sickness, illness, surgery got in the way, or motivation and consistency just didn't happen, these are the strategies that I recommend you use.